Hello, Professor. The following is my week 5 assignment where I present a scenario where I implement performance management strategies as a supervisor while keeping in mind cultural variables. Jen is a newly hired behavior technician who is completely new to the field. She recently moved from Japan and speaks both English and Japanese fluently. Her teammates rave about how helpful she is to the team. She always assists in the end of the day clean activities, covers sub-sessions, and constantly wears a smile on her face. When looking at her data, she is barely reaching trial count for skill acquisition goals and always submits session notes late. Upon indirectly observing her, I have noticed she tends to leave her client with other staff members when needing to obtain session materials. And when previously given feedback, I also observed her not being her same positive self and avoiding eye contact. Before looking at performance management strategies that would best assist Jen, I first wanted to focus on pairing and getting to know more about Jen's culture. There are many key differences in the Western and Asian culture that could possibly explain Jen's behavior at work. First, for the purpose of eye contact, in Asian culture, eye contact tends to be avoided, especially with those older or holding a higher position than you as a sign of respect, versus Western culture, where eye contact is seen as a sign of attentiveness and confidence. Next, feedback is typically given indirectly, either through cues or gestures, further explaining why Jen seemed a little out of character when given feedback the first time around. Lastly, most Asian cultures believe in collectivism, which prioritizes group success rather than personal achievements. To help Jen further grow as a technician while still reinforcing her team player skills, I plan to implement the performance strategies of feedback, goal setting, and shaping. In terms of feedback, though her avoidance of eye contact could be because of cultural values and as a sign of respect, I still do want to help her better get accustomed to receiving feedback. I plan to implement the evidence-based protocol for providing feedback to staff as discussed by Reed, Parsons, and Green. I really want to emphasize the steps of starting and ending feedback on a positive note to better help Jen get accustomed to receiving feedback. Since respect and relationships are valued in Asian culture, when providing feedback, I want to make sure Jen knows I am sincere in the feedback I am giving to her. I want to make sure the feedback I also give her is specific. As stated by Reed, Parsons, and Green, frequently informing staff about work behavior they have performed proficiently is the most readily available and effective means for a supervisor to support proficient work and enhance staff enjoyment with their work. With that said, I also want to provide her informal feedback as much as possible. I also want to provide her feedback via gestures, such as simply just smiling and giving her a thumbs up whenever I notice her engaging in appropriate behaviors. Due to eye contact being a sign of respect in the Asian culture, I do not want her giving me eye contact being a focus. For the purpose of feedback, I really just want to make sure she feels comfortable receiving and in the long run providing it. I want to continue to apply the strategy of providing feedback through gestures / indirectly, as that is something she's accustomed to. As emphasized by Reed, Parsons, and Green, starting and ending formal feedback meetings on a positive note will assist in making sure any individual, such as Jen, will become more comfortable with receiving feedback. Next, I plan on implementing the strategy of goal setting to have individual goals for Jen to work towards. Prior to presenting these goals to her, I want to clearly state what her roles and responsibilities are at work, such as completing session notes by the end of the workday, being ready with all session materials, and meeting minimum trial counts. Some possible goals that I believe Jen can work towards will be Jen will complete session notes by the end of the workday, at least 80% of the week by the end of the month. Jen will demonstrate readiness for sessions by having all session materials ready at the start of each session. And Jen will meet trial counts for all goals by the end of the month. To assist in Jen achieving these goals, I also want to implement the method of shaping. For the purpose of session note completion, as I see her working on her notes and having them completed over a series of days, for example, on day 1, I can say, nice job working on your session note while your client is engaging in his reinforcer. Day 3, good job completing all session notes on time these past few days. Day 5, you're killing it at completing all your session notes. Have a good weekend. For the purpose of having session materials ready at the start of session, during occasions where I see Jen picking up her client at the door with her tablet and clipboard on hand, I can say, "Nice job having your tablet and clipboard at the beginning of session." If I decide to supervise Jen that day, as we're walking to her classroom, I can say, "Nice job having your clipboard and tablet ready. Let's also work on having our stimuli ready for DTT. Let me know if you need help." Rather than telling Jen what she forgot when I initially saw her, I first want to work on reinforcing the approximation. And as we were walking towards the classroom, that's when I went over ways for her to improve using positive verbiage rather than simply stating what she did incorrectly. Both the strategies of shaping and goal setting promote fairness as it holds Jen to the same standards as the rest of her peers. To further emphasize fairness, before these strategies are implemented, she will again be made aware of her job expectations. Like stated in the course readings, one cannot be expected to do something unless they were made aware of what was expected of them. When making these goals, I really wanted to make sure they were attainable and not impossible to achieve. Since Jen at baseline does not already engage in any of these goals, I put the expected date for her to achieve the first two goals for the end of the month. Since the goal of meeting minimum trial counts for all goals also depends on her competence in running skill acquisition goals, I made this a goal for her to achieve by the end of the following month, since this will require additional training. To assist in Jen achieving these goals, I know one possible outcome will be that I, as her supervisor, must supervise her more. Shaping will be beneficial in Jen achieving these goals as it will reinforce all approximations to the target response. When taking this approach, I will implement the no but rule and avoid saying, "Good job, Jen, but you," and instead say, "Nice job having your clipboard and tablet ready. Let's also work on having your stimuli ready for DTT. Let me know if you need help." As talked about by Daniels and Bailey, as this approach avoids Jen dwelling on what she did wrong by avoiding using conjunction words such as but. This will also make her more comfortable with receiving feedback as she will be given it more regularly. Shaping will also be critical as Jen does not already engage in these behaviors, but reinforcing these approximations will help her put her in the right direction. As Jen's individual performance improves, I also want to continue to reinforce all efforts to the team, such as keeping a clean and safe environment, taking on sub-sessions whenever possible, and just being a positive team member, as her contributions show how important teamwork and group success is to her. These were the sources I used in order to complete this PowerPoint. Thank you for taking the time to review my work.